Carl, good to see you.
Later, Rob.
The Nazi-tattooed new Democrat darling. Let's check it out. Welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. For the last 10 years, we have been inundated by politicians aligning the Republican Party under Donald Trump with fascism. Performative, loudmouth actors in Washington telling us that a Nazi has taken control of the party. And as they worked to destroy the country in so many various ways over the last 10 years, they claimed that a president pushing back on that and pushing for his country to remain sovereign and a country to protect its culture, which is what all other countries do, well, they claimed that that all aligned him with the likes of Adolf Hitler. No, we should have open borders. Everybody should be allowed into the country. We should decimate the culture. And if you don't like that, you're a Nazi. They've been saying this for a very long time. Their desperation to create this alignment has been so pitiful to watch, revealing the very sad state of the Democrat Party. This is how it sounded.
He is paving the way to become a Vladimir Putin or to become an Adolf Hitler or a Kim Jong-un.
Donald Trump is a white supremacist domestic terrorist who is seeking to destroy our democracy.
Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do.
Trump is running this country like an authoritarian dictator.
Trump loves Hitler.
That's Hitler's language. That's not America's. He cares about holding on to power.
They understand that we have a Timo Hitler in the White House right now.
Yeah. Now, to be clear, as they were all saying this in unison for years, they knew how ridiculous they sounded. Of course they did. This was the lowbrow nonsense that Democrats screamed to get their bottom-of-the-barrel voters engaged, which is the most important part, right? That low IQ base. Well, there's no way any of them could have possibly predicted this moment as they made all these claims, because the new star of their party, as you have now seen, is a lunatic oyster farmer from Maine who for years had a full-blown Nazi SS guard tattoo stamped right onto the front of his chest. And no, that's not an exaggeration, and it's not even a claim that they can really even run from. They just have to own it. It's not like, oh, well, it meant this or this, you're not really sure. No. This was a Nazi SS guard tattoo. It's now covered up by another tattoo. You can see it clearly if we can play this video of this man wasted at his brother's wedding with his shirt off because, again, he's like a psychopath. It's called the Totenkopf. It's a German word that means dead person's head. That is the name of the Nazi tattoo that you see on the screen from this raging lunatic at his brother's wedding, probably after 45 drinks. During the reign of the Nazis in Germany, this was the unofficial symbol of Hitler's SS. That was the Nazi unit responsible for killing the Jews that were kept inside of concentration camps. Yeah. Now, you'd think in a moment like this, after all of the lunacy that we've had to listen to for the last 10 years, the Democrats would have no choice but to forcefully abandon this crazy dude. And you'd be exactly wrong.
Are you going to endorse Graham Plattner?
I'm going to help him if he wants my help. Absolutely.
He has apologized. He's out meeting with the people of Maine every single day.
I like Graham Plattner. You like Graham Plattner.
In my view, we need somebody who will shake things up. And Plattner has clearly proven himself to be somebody who can, grab the attention of a lot of voters. He went into combat on behalf of the United States. He went through a really rough period.
Yeah.
PTSD type period.
Listen, he had a little PTSD. And, maybe he wanted to recreate the Holocaust or something like that, but it's not a huge deal. Why shouldn't he be a U.S. senator? A senator. At the end of the day, as we know, Graham Plattner has a reasonably good shot of beating Susan Collins in the state of Maine and flipping a Senate seat from red to blue. And that is a huge deal, especially to a party that only cares about one thing and one thing alone, and that is power. So the same political party and their aligned media that went nuts about Trump possibly reading Hitler's autobiography Maybe he read Mein Kampf, which is, by the way, a book that millions of people in this country have read, as there has always been a longstanding fascination to understand the tyrant that destroyed Europe and almost destroyed the entire world 75, 80 years ago. A lot of people have read Mein Kampf. But all the same people that went nuts about that, and the possibility, even though Trump denied that he read the book, the possibility, Trump's admitted he has a fascination with World War II, has a fascination with Nazi Germany, all these things like that. A lot of people have that fascination. Look at the History Channel. People watch it every single day, and that's pretty much all they got. That the same people that went nuts over that don't seem to mind at all that their hot, new, fashionable candidate put a massive tattoo on his chest aligning with the soldiers who shoved millions of innocent people into gas chambers in the Second World War. Just digest that, process that for a second, how insane this is. And it's not just that. It gets even better with Graham Plattner. In his past, Plattner has also complained about black people not tipping while working as a bartender. He also claimed that women worried about being raped should stop getting drunk around men that they don't feel comfortable with. All that's now okay. That's now all totally fine and endorsed by the Democrat Party, as long as this is your politics.
We're the majority. We need to use the power we get to shut this White House down. We do that, I think one of the best ways is through committee hearings and investigations. I want the Trump administration not to function because everyone in the White House is being hauled under subpoena in front of a Senate committee day after day after day.
That's all that matters right there. He just said the magic line. If you just say that, you're allowed to literally mock the rape of women and bash the entire black race as cheap. Literally, the Democrat Party's two biggest constituencies, by the way, blacks, women, you can smash both of them to the ground. If you've got a chance at taking out Susan Collins, the Democrat Party is behind you. Yes, the left in this country is that ridiculous. And as they all celebrate Graham Plattner's rise, they're still calling Trump a Nazi as they do it at the same time.
Do you personally see parallels between Nazi Germany and what's happening under the Trump administration?
Yeah, I do. It is deeply concerning that we see an authoritarian slide. And as we talked about earlier, dividing people against each other. There are shades of authoritarianism here that we need to be deeply concerned about.
Mallory McMorrow right there. She's running for Senate in Michigan at the same time as Graham Plattner is running for Senate in Maine. And what she effectively is saying is, Trump is a threat to democracy because I think he's authoritarian, and that reminds me of Hitler, but also I can't wait to serve alongside the Nazi tattoo guy if he wins in Maine. And they can hold hands as they walk in the door. It's like the best story. It's just so good. Remember how crazy they went over Pete Hegseth's Christian tattoo? This was in the news for like 2 weeks. The Jerusalem cross. He's a white nationalist. Well, now they got an actual SS Guard Nazi tattoo, and they don't seem to be too offended. How funny is all of this to realize that all the rage that they stir up constantly, and they make so much of it, that it's all simply manufactured, that they're not actually offended by anything. They don't care at all. They could take the worst person in the world and turn them into a hero if they had to. They don't care, but they have no standards. It's no standards whatsoever. Jim Deyermond is the GOP chairman in Maine, and he joins us now. And sir, it's good to have you on. We know about Graham Plattner's personal life at this point. I want to talk to you about his politics. Tell us about his platform. He's called himself a communist in the past as well.
Yeah, and using psychedelic drugs too. That's something he raves about in his past. You know, all the things you just mentioned are spot on, and we see here in Maine that we point these things out, we show the videos, we play the sound cuts of his actual saying these things, and yet the Democrats still are rallying behind him because they lost Janet Mills, as President Trump knew was going to happen, and we see these things day in and day out, and it's you shake your head. When are they going to reach a point where even they can't justify the crazy things that come out of this guy? And he's really only a caricature. It's not a real candidate. There are no oyster farmers in Maine. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, like the Senator Hiawatha from Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah, Liz Warren.
It's just amazing.
Yeah, it certainly is. Let's talk about Collins for a second, though, in your state. I mean, there is a vulnerability there. It's not terribly popular among Trump Republicans, and I think they see this as a seat that they can snag if they can motivate the electorate, which is why they're letting this guy get away with anything to have that chance at the seat. How do you view this race going at this point? These are going to be the two in November, I assume, right?
Yeah, that's where it's going to be right now. They think they smell blood in the water. I think they're going to smell Susan Collins will be another victory in November, as she has beaten back every other Democratic opponent in the past. He is the latest version of them trying to take down, probably one of the best senators in the Northeast and the only Republican in New England. And you have to go out to Ohio and further to find another Republican in Congress, in the legislature. She is going to win, and they're going to complain the whole way.
They saw a vulnerability there, and I think they maybe got a little bit too aggressive in the kind of person they could put in there. I'm not sure where the polling really stands at this point between the two of them. I've seen just primary polling, but it's a very, very interesting race to watch at this point. And Jim, we appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Mercedes Schlapp joins us now. Alex Marlow, editor of Breitbart. Good to have you both here. That race, is interesting for a lot of different reasons. Obviously, there's a vulnerability to Collins that we all know about. But Mercedes, let's talk about after 10 years of manufacturing outrage about Trump, Nazi, Republicans, Hitler, all of that. You got a dude with a Nazi SS tattoo has become the Democrat darling in the party. I mean, you cannot make this up.
Yeah, these Democrats, they are embracing this progressive, leftist, Nazi-loving, tattoo guy as being like the tough guy. And so, look, they viewed it as Janet Mills had no shot against Susan Collins, Senator Susan Collins. They were looking at the numbers, and they saw that Plattner could beat Susan Collins as this kind of outsider perspective, as an outsider coming in as, this, as they call him, the oyster farmer. And he has an interesting and compelling story. And so I think the Democrats, obviously, they're desperate to win this seat. I think Susan Collins has very much struggled in the sense of not really embracing the MAGA policies, voting against the president on several of his agenda items. And it's going to be a contentious race. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you got to say, okay, who's the one that's going to at least be helpful to President Trump? And Susan Collins over Plattner, who wants to put him into jail, of course.
Alex, I want to play the Nazi tattoo guy in his own words here. Let's take a listen.
We are, without question, seeing the rise of fascism and authoritarianism in this country.
Well, I don't know if he was saying that in a good way or a bad way. I'm not, when you think about it, when you see the tattoo, but he actually is going to make this kind of commentary with that on his chest, which is just peak Democrat Party behavior.
Yeah, Rob, you and I are exactly on the same page of this. We have to make the Democrats own him. We have to make fun of him as much as humanly possible and point out all the hypocrisy. But of course, he's talking positively about the Democrats and all the lawfare apparatus that he wants to expand when he gets into power. Yes, he loves the fact that fascism has come to America because he's a Nazi with a literal Nazi tattoo on his chest. After people like me were called a white nationalist because I am right of center so much of my career, you got a guy with an actual Nazi tattoo, and you see people like the Obama podcast bros coming out and saying he kept his Nazi views hidden. They're not hidden. It's on his chest. He's got the tattoo. And this specifically were Nazi watchdogs that stood over concentration camps and mowed down Jews. That's what he's celebrating on his chest. And the Democrats love this guy.
Yeah. And not only did he tattoo it on his chest, he apparently likes to take his shirt off all the time and show it to as many people as is humanly possible, like at a wedding, which it's just everything about this story. You think it was made up. It's too good. It's too rich. I want to switch for a second. I want to get to California, a couple other topics that are big in the news over the weekend. California's got the LA mayor's race. They got the governor's race as well, both exposing kind of the ruling party in that state as just really pitiful. You got Spencer Pratt, the former reality star. This could be the hero that saves his city. He's really got the momentum right now, and he could do a lot with it. He has enough time. His house burned down. His parents' house burned down. You've got the corrupt mayor of the city, Karen Bass, who's trying to get reelected. She was getting greased up in Africa by a foreign government as her city burned down, and now she's saying this about the guy that wants her job. This was Rich. Take a listen.
Honestly, before this, I had never heard of Spencer Pratt. The thing I am concerned and feel about him is that I feel like he's exploiting the grief of people in the Palisades, and I think that's right. Reprehensible. That's the main thing, and I think he is about his own celebrity. He's famous now again.
I mean, Mercy, how terrible does that sound? That sounds so elitist and so arrogant of her to make that comment.
Yeah, and I mean, it was his parents who lost the house in the Palisades. And I think for Karen Bass, you know, who has been completely ineffective as a mayor in cracking down on homelessness, obviously the economy is a disaster in LA. There's real need for change. And I hope for once, not only do we see this in the mayor's race, but in the governor's race in California, that they're able to turn red, to turn Republican, to basically try to at least salvage what is left of California.
Yeah, well said. I want to move to one more just to show the state of the party right now. I want to go to Seattle. Katie Wilson, the mayor of Seattle, continues to get financial support from her parents well into her 40s as a socialist darling in the city. She's getting hammered by the Washington Post editorial board. Even Washington Post coming after this comment. Take a listen.
I think the claims that millionaires are going to leave our state are like super overblown, and if you know the ones that leave, like bye.
I mean, that's just unbelievable. This is, I mean, the Washington Post is obviously getting reformed. It's been a slow process from the rag that it was. But from the Post, to their credit, and this is from the Ed Board, socialism has failed everywhere, but its flaws are exposed much faster in free countries like the United States, where individuals and businesses can simply leave for more welcoming jurisdictions. The 43-year-old Wilson, who received a $10,000 allowance from her parents last year, is defiant about the consequences of her antagonism towards successful people who create value for society. Alex, that's a pretty great summation of exactly who this young woman is and how we're allowing these little communists that have just climbed out of their parents' pockets. They have no life experience, and we're letting them run some of the biggest, most important cities in the world, let alone this country, is just surreal.
Yeah, and states, they really don't understand where money comes from. It comes from the most productive members of society. I mean, look at what Mamdani did in New York City. Does a drive-by on Democrat donor Ken Griffin, and now he wants to leave the city. A completely unforced error. In California, where I'm at, they're announcing they want to do a billionaires tax. We're all smart. We all know they're coming for regular people eventually. It starts with the billionaires. They just expand it from there. I got kids in public school. Who's going to pay for the school if all the rich people are going to leave? And they are going to leave no matter if she makes fun of them or not.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing that they never seem to understand is that if all of that, if the people that created all that wealth leave, that wealth doesn't just stay and create itself. If you killed all the billionaires, the economy just gets smaller because all the things that they created, all the businesses they had, just die. And without them, we just have people that you just have a smaller everything. Everybody has less. They don't understand that. They think that all that money's been stolen by these people. That money's been created by these people.
Right, Rob. And then they go into debt, right? And then they expect the bailouts to come from the federal governments. I mean, this is exactly the Democrat playbook. And you can't tax the people to death. It just doesn't work. And it's why you're seeing the transfer of wealth going into states like Tennessee and like Florida and like Texas. It's these red states that are prospering. It is not these blue states. And I think we need to save Alex from California and just get him out of there as quickly as possible.
But he doesn't want to run. I don't like it when people run. It's a great state. I don't know. It's hard to get people to leave there, but they're somehow doing it. Real quick before I let you guys go, I got 5 seconds. Our former New York mayor, Rudy Giuliani, hospitalized in Florida, critical condition. We're hearing pneumonia. Just a quick response. Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, he set the template for how to be a great mayor after 9/11 and what he did to clean up crime. People always forget what he did on crime. If everyone followed his model, then we'd have a lot safer country.
Certainly. Mercedes, go ahead real quick.
Praying for our great American mayor. We love you, Rudy. We love his family and for all he's done for this country, the great city of New York and in New York City, and as well for what he's done for President Trump, that he's been demonized for being a supporter of President Trump.
Yeah,
so
Trump
praying
had
for a quick recovery.
Yeah, Trump had the Truth Social post. We're not going to go too deep into it. We're hoping he pulls out of it and he's back on TV soon and back on his podcast soon. Mercedes, Alex, good to have you both. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Trump makes a major move to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. That's a big decision, while saying Iran will be blown off the map if the regime continues to fire on neighbor nations and ships in the Gulf. We've got all that coming up next with retired Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg. Then later in news from the left, the hilarious excuse Eric Swalwell used to justify getting on Snapchat to send out naked pictures of himself.
Federal agencies urge every family to have an emergency radio. During any disaster, electrical power may get cut. The emergency radio gives you the vital information you need. Newsmax wants you to have the Dynamo Emergency Band Radio. It doesn't need batteries and works in any emergencies. It retails for $30. You can get it with the free offer. Call or go online and get the emergency radio today. Your life may depend on it.
From senior to childcare to pets and more, the new Care.com makes it easier than ever to find the care you need. And you don't have to hire just anyone. You can find a background-checked caregiver who's the right fit for you. Join now and find care at Care.com.
The pain is gone. It's gone. I was wheeled in. I couldn't even move 5 feet without the wheelchair. I was in awful pain.
Are you able to get onto the bed?
I doubt it.
No?
We went through the whole intake interview, did the MRI, x-rays. I was awake through the surgery, came back to recovery. I was there for 10 minutes, and I got up and I walked.
Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
My name is Karen, and I'm the head pharmacist at Corvallis Drug. This pharmacy has actually been here for over 100 years. I love the fact that I know all of my customers by name. We'll get customers come in and they're looking for a brain supplement, and Prevagen is the one I recommend. My husband, I put him on it about 6 months ago, and he's noticed a difference. I've noticed a difference in him. It's just a product that I believe in.
Prevagen has been the #1 selling brain supplement nationwide for over 10 years.
Stop, check this out. Our most advanced performance frame, Talon, is out. It's a bestseller. We just got it back in stock, and I want to show you a little bit about it. These come with our signature lost and broken protection, and you can try them risk-free for 30 days. Check them out at ShadyRays.com.
I lost 110 pounds. You couldn't tell at all because of my excess skin. Sono Bello changed that in one visit.
Introducing the new Lift EX, the just one visit total body transformation everyone is talking about.
I am super happy with my results.
I decided to give Sono Bello a try. Look at me, I have a silhouette. You can see my waist.
Lift EX is Sono Bello's breakthrough 360-degree body lift alternative. Our body contouring experts sculpt, tighten, and lift your stomach, waist, thighs, and backside, all in just one visit with less downtime.
Sono Bello targeted the areas diet exercise could not do. I found me again.
Sono Bello has over 50,000 five-star reviews, and Lift EX is exclusively available at Sono Bello, America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist. Book your free, personalized consultation today. Easy monthly plans make your best body more affordable than ever.
This year is my year thanks to Sono Bello.
Call Sono Bello for your free consultation today.
Can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. It's working out very nicely. They have no Navy, they have no Air Force, they have no anti-aircraft equipment, they have no radar, they have no nothing. They have no leaders, actually. Our country's booming now, despite the fact that we're in I call it a mini war, because that's all they are.
So it appears that the Iran ceasefire is on the cusp of breaking tonight as we listen to the update from the president from earlier today. CENTCOM Admiral Brad Cooper telling journalists on the phone this afternoon that Iran fired cruise missiles at our own U.S. warships, and we responded sinking 6 Iranian gunboats. So Iran is lashing out, which isn't really surprising at this point. Iran also restarting their attacks on their neighbors as well. UAE, Oman getting hits, drones and missiles striking an oil terminal in the United Arab Emirates, reportedly hitting a residential building in Oman as well. Residents in Dubai, all the party animals there, spent their day sheltered in place as the UAE intercepted Iranian missiles overhead. The other big development, Project Freedom, they're calling it, the American plan to guide commercial ships through the Strait of Hormuz. So now we're putting a plan in place to try and get that oil out. Oil's up over $100. We're helping alleviate that by sending ships to the Gulf here in the U.S., but it'd be good if you get that other 20% back on the market. So there's advising on how to avoid mines, a plan that will eventually involve direct escorts, we believe, as well. CENTCOM says U.S. military support to Project Freedom includes guided missile destroyers, over 100 land and sea-based aircraft, multi-domain unmanned platforms, and 15,000 service members. Retired Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg joins us now to talk about all this, and it's good to have you back on, sir. Can you explain how we're going to get these hundreds of ships out of the Persian Gulf and back onto the market?
Yeah, Rob, thanks for having me tonight. Good to be with you. Look, I think give the president a lot of credit. He's done this thing brilliantly in what he has done. The only concern I've got right now is sequencing. We seem to be going, for lack of a better word, like incrementalism. We have the combat power to get those ships out of there using our naval assets as well. But you brought it up just a second ago. We're assuming more risk. That's okay. We know we can do that. We may take a hit, but we'll be able to get those ships out of there, which they should do. You know, this is a war, and the president calls it a mini war. It's actually a war. War's a war, and it actually goes back to 1979 when the Islamic Revolution took over with Tehran, with the Revolutionary Guards and the Supreme Leader, and then it really got serious in 2006. When you started looking when they were developing their nuclear capacity, when the IAEA said, look, they're enriching uranium well beyond the 3 to 5% you need for domestic use, and they actually went to the 20% and then 60%, and 80% is weapons grade. But at 60% enrichment, you can build a nuclear weapon with that. You get 10 dirty bombs if you want to as well. Yeah. But I think the president's got it right in the sense that what he's doing right now is really squeezing them. What I would like to see happen is even compound the problems for them even more. And what I mean by that, compound the problem, one of the principles of war is unity of command. And what you want to do is fracture their unity of command. What they have done, the Iranians, they developed a plan called Mosaic, and that's a defensive plan where they decentralized all their command and control to 31 Revolutionary Guards headquarters. So you may not know what Group 1 is doing compared to Group 2 is doing, but I think if we keep attacking their 31 headquarters and the people behind it, which is great, and maybe take out strategic targets as well, be it Karg Island or maybe the islands in the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah. We make it so they really can't do any command and control. And you want to reach a point where they break command and control. Why do I say take out, for example, the regional commands of the Revolutionary Guards? Because they control the Basij. And the Basij is a paramilitary organization. They're the ones who keep the people under control. Keep the people controlled. And if you can fracture that and break that up, then you really compound problems for them to have some control over the population and command and control their military.
Yeah, and you said there's 31 different operational centers. You just start bombing those. I imagine we know where most, if not all of those are, and we can do that. So hopefully that's part of the plan if this resumes, and it seems like it could resume in the next 24 hours. Iran clearly is lashing out, which to me is an indication that what we're doing is working, right? If they start lashing out, that means they're desperate. They need to change the calculus a little bit, that the blockade is really impacting their bottom line.
Well, my actually study of military history is the fact that when regimes are near the end of their lives, they lash out really hard. And I think you're seeing that right now with the Iranians. They really don't know where to go. Now, that raises your risk level, and that raises the danger if something's going to happen to an American warship or to a civilian ship as well. But I think you have to accept that risk. If you're going to open it up, you accept it, but you make them pay a terrible price for it. I wouldn't say take out their power plants or hurt the Iranian people. What I would say is go after things that control them, which is actually the Revolutionary Guards and their command and control. You compound the problem that they've got to solve, and then you make it a point of that they can't handle all this at the same time. We're in absolute control of this. The president has done this brilliantly. We've got all the cards. Yeah. Let's play all the cards.
Do you think where do you think we get in the next 24 hours? Does it fire up again, and how does the president respond if that happens?
Well, I think what's going to happen is you're going to see retaliation by the Iranians.
Yeah.
Now it's going to come down to risk. Do they actually hit something that really affects us, like an American warship? You know, we haven't lost an American warship to combat since World War II.
Yeah.
So when you look at it, that'll increase the danger to our troops, but also our allies out there. The UAE is getting bombarded. They're responding quite well, but all of our allies in the Gulf right now are taking this brunt of punishment, and they're staying with us, which is really great. Unlike some other NATO allies or allies that we have who've disappointed us by not supporting us, the Gulf allies have hung with us, it's great for not only today, but the future as well.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so we're going to have to see what comes this week, as it feels like the ceasefire could be breaking. Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, we appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Okay. All right, a major hit to MAHA. You got 55 Republicans voting with Democrats to keep you paying for sugary drinks and candy and garbage for food stamp recipients. We're going to talk about that up next.
A new president is sworn in. America's greatness is restored. Millions of Americans are tuning in to Newsmax. Even President Trump says Newsmax is terrific. Watch Newsmax or download our free app on your TV or phone today.
The grind catches up with everyone, even me. That's why I trust Cunol Ultra High Absorption Turmeric to support my joint health. It's the #1 doctor-recommended form of turmeric. It helps you keep doing the things you love at every age. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Mike Hammond of Signal Relief. We've helped nearly 700,000 feel relief in their back, shoulders, and knees with our technology. But for many of us, it's our feet that hurt. And when they hurt, our walks get shorter, activities are skipped, and the moments we love start slipping away. That's why we created the Signal Step, a patent-pending insole built using the same proven technology people already trust from Signal Relief. Signal uses no drugs. There's nothing on the market like it. It's relief without the side effects. It's reusable, fits virtually into any shoe, and in a recent study, over 85% felt relief, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Feel relief with every step. If you're hurting, go to signalstep.com and get relief today.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis? With fewer symptoms from moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, where would you go? Imagine being 1,000,000 miles away. With Tremfya, clearer skin is possible. And for adults with active psoriatic arthritis, Tremfya goes beyond the skin. Less joint pain, stiffness, and swelling is possible. And Tremfya even reduced fatigue. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being 1,000,000 miles away. Ask your doctor about Tremfya.
Doctors say having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care and pharmacy at home. Let me bring in Dr. McCullough to explain more.
Most people know when they're getting sick, but waiting to see a doctor is often too late.
So the key is having medicines before you need them.
Yes, and it includes doctor-prescribed medicines to treat common and serious issues like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, antibiotics, antivirals for flu, pneumonia, strep, ear and sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
So it is like having an urgent care at home.
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications and hospitalizations.
How do you know what to take?
Just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Great advice. I understand ordering is fast online, and we've put the website and $45 off code on the screen. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Welcome back. A bit of a hit to the MAHA agenda and to really just a common sense as well. You had 55 Republicans That's what's really irritating about it. Joining Democrats in blocking an effort to prevent food stamp recipients from using, I should say, government aid, our money, to buy soda, sugary drinks, all sorts of candy, whatever, in a 238 to 186 vote. Our money will continue to buy junk food for welfare recipients in this country, keeping them as unhealthy as possible as we also pay for their health care at the same time. $9 billion on SNAP funds is spent each year just on soda. You and I pay for $9 billion worth of soda in a program that's just meant to keep people alive. Secretary Kennedy has been hammering this for years. Take a listen.
If you want to buy a sugary soda, you ought to be able to do that. The U.S. taxpayer should not pay for it. Taxpayer dollars should not be funding these injuries to our children. And we pay for it twice. We pay for it through the SNAP program, and we pay for it later on with diabetes and obesity.
He has it perfectly said there. Yeah, we can. If you want to have a Coke, but we shouldn't be paying for it, and then we shouldn't be paying for your health care after it gives you diabetes as well. Congressman Glenn Grothman from Wisconsin joins us to talk about this. How disappointing, these 55 Republicans. What is their excuse for continuing to fund this?
Well, it was a disappointment, obviously. So your listeners know we just passed the Farm Bill, but the Farm Bill is primarily a food stamp bill. Yeah. And we all know that the food stamps are being abused. We all hear the stories, people using food stamps for top-of-the-line foodstuffs, things that the average person wouldn't be able to buy, but the people on food stamps seem capable of buying it. So an effort was made, a mild effort, just to say you can't buy sugary soft drinks, not Mountain Dew and that sort of thing.
Right.
And we had 55 Republicans vote to say no. We actually thought we were going to win because we had over 20 Democrats vote for the amendment on their own. And usually the Democrats are so bad, I'd expect no votes, but we got over 20 votes.
So some of them actually came. I mean, SNAP is to keep people alive. It's like you don't have a job. We're going to get you the food you need to that's what it's supposed to be. I think it's outrageous that I don't like that it's just a card that you can buy so many different things with. I feel like it should just be a food program where you get sent, a box of food. I mean, that's the way it ought to work.
Absolutely. Here's your potatoes. Here are your apples.
Exactly.
Here's your cheese. Exactly. That's what we ought to do and what we used to do many years ago. But instead, apparently, a clear majority of people in Congress want to make sure you can have everything, including things like Mountain Dew, which is not only bad for you, but it's a farm bill. It'd be better for the farmers if people had to buy food.
Real quick on the farm, and I agree with you there. Real quick on the farm bill, because there's a part of it that's actually interesting, prohibiting the purchase of agricultural land by foreign adversaries and state sponsors of terrorism. Does that block China from buying up farmland, which is a pretty big deal?
Well, right, and it's a security thing, too. We do not want to have China, a country that doing horrific things like with the Uyghurs and that. We do not want to have them owning American land of any nature.
No, that's well said. Congressman, it's good to have you on. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Glenn Grothman from Wisconsin. Thank you, sir. A lot of finger pointing as Spirit Airlines shut down over the weekend. Pocahontas really stepped in it. We're going to explain up next.
You know Rob Finnerty. He's smart, bold, and stands strong for your values. Rob is fighting for you. Watch Finnerty weeknights only on Newsmax.
Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America. Most investors believe their IRA, 401k, and bank accounts are reliable and safe. But what if our economy becomes so dire that you're restricted from accessing your own money? The fact is that should your bank be in trouble for holding bad loans, the burden could fall on you to help bail them out. Even more concerning is that U.S. financial regulations allow banks to impose withdrawal limits on your hard-earned savings. But there's something you can do about it. Our team at Swiss America has a report called The Secret War on Cash. Learn how to protect yourself with assets that can remain outside the control of banks and other financial institutions. For over 40 years, Swiss America has been one of the most trusted metal firms in the country. So don't wait. Call or text the number on your screen today for financial peace of mind in these uncertain times.
I still love to surf, snowboard, and of course skate. So I take Cunol Magnesium to support my muscle and bone health. Cunol's high absorption magnesium glycinate helps me get the full benefits of magnesium. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Every day, bumps and bangs happen. Bruises are optional. Use daily dermatologist recommended Dermend and reduce the appearance of bruises. Get Dermend Moisturizing Bruise Cream in the first aid aisle.
Don't kibble your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, Bat.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means it's ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibbled.
You got it, kid, and they're gonna love it.
This Memorial Day, we honor the brave who stood watch over our nation's security. But today, security isn't just about physical borders. It's about the invisible threats that target our computers, our privacy, and our peace of mind. At PCmatic, we're proud to continue that legacy by protecting your digital world. Unlike traditional antivirus that reacts to threats after they've already hit, our global allow listing technology stops them before they can even start. We don't just stop hackers, we also clean out the digital clutter that slows you down, making your old computer feel like it's brand new again. From American homes and local businesses to our nation's government agencies, we provide the only cybersecurity that's 100% researched, developed, and supported right here in the USA. PCmatic, built by Americans for America. Visit PCmatic.com today.
We've been building chainsaws for over 100 years. Now that century of cutting comes in a mower. New blade, same bloodline.
Welcome back. Spirit Airlines, low-budget carrier with a quirky reputation, is gone. After 34 years in business, airlines ceasing all operations. It hadn't been profitable in like 7 years. And unable to secure a government bailout loan, Spirit went belly up. So who's at fault here is the question. Everybody's pointing fingers. Obviously, high jet fuel costs right now did not help. But as I said, Spirit has been a disaster for 7 years. They have not turned a profit in 7 years. Back in 2022, JetBlue offered $3.8 billion to buy this struggling airline. Elizabeth Warren actually fought harder than anybody in Congress to prevent this from happening, convincing Pete Buttigieg, who handled transportation at the time, to kill the deal and fight with lawsuits, and they won. Warren called the merger a threat to consumers, arguing it would raise prices for them. Well, now the woman who destroyed Spirit's lifeline at that point is complaining about its shutdown today, because at the end, you still lost Spirit Airlines. You just didn't put all those planes into a merger and a larger JetBlue. You just have nothing now. The big four airlines, American, Southwest, Delta, United, control 75% of the U.S. market. Pocahontas says fewer choices equals higher prices for you. Why she would decide to step into this, I'm not sure, because, of course, people were going to figure all of this out. Our Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy on Sunday.
Spirit tried to merge with JetBlue. The Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg administration and DOJ tanked that deal. Immediately after that, they filed for bankruptcy. They were having financial problems. Martha, they filed for bankruptcy again last year. They were bleeding money.
Bleeding money. Tudor Dixon, Josh Hammer, two of the best podcasters out there, join us now. Good to have you both. Josh, everybody's pointing fingers because nobody wants to have to claim this, because we need more airlines in this country. Losing one doesn't help. How do you see it?
Yeah, this was an outrageous decision by the Biden-era DOJ, by the Attorney General Merrick Garland and the Antitrust Division Chief Jonathan Cantor to prosecute and to try to sue for violation of the antitrust statutes. There was absolutely no reason to do this. On a good year, JetBlue is probably 6th in the market share. They're actually behind not just the big four, but also Alaska Airlines. Spirit Airlines is somewhere way down the list, competing with Allegiant Airlines, Frontier Airlines there. There was no reason here. And for the people who are saying that Spirit is now going under because of the Iran war and because of the rise in gasoline prices and fuel prices there, where have you been? These guys have declared bankruptcy twice just in recent years. So if this merger had gone through, there would have been a healthier JetBlue, a JetBlue that would have been more able to compete with Southwest and with the big three, Delta, United, American there. We got a lower price there. Ultimately, the joke here is on the neo-Brandeisian school of thought in antitrust, which basically says that big is inherently bad. Big is sometimes bad, but big is actually not always bad there, especially when you're trying to combine, again, the 6th and 8th or 9th market share airlines in this case.
You know, I mean, Spirit, I mean, I didn't like flying it. You know, it was like Fight Club Airlines. All you ever see are pictures of people just beat each other up on those planes. But I will say that once or twice, when it was just a ridiculous weekend to travel, Spirit saved me from having to spend like $1,400, you know, to fly to Florida on a Delta flight. And like, oh, okay, I can save $1,000. I can fly to Spirit. I'll deal with it. I'll do it. So I had a bit of a fondness for them in a weird way. Tudor, I want to get to this. Looking at Ohio, the Daily Wire is sending their reporter into this great state of Ohio to look into fraud. Luke Rosiak saying he's found the biggest scandal he's seen in 20 years in that state. So we found another state with this tremendous amount of fraud, also a state that has a tremendous amount of Somali migrants as well, exposing billions of dollars in dubious personal services payments where people are paid by our government to spend time taking care of their own family. In one building alone, 94 different companies signed up to bill Medicaid, receiving $66 million in taxpayer money in the span of a few years. And this was just in a small, like, kind of Midwest commercial building. They had 94 companies. It is surreal, Tudor, how bad this government is at protecting all the money that they take out of our wallets.
Right, and you think about this, this is supposed to be a Republican administration in Ohio, and yet this is still happening. And I say that, I use the term Republican lightly there, but however, you still have to see that this is like a redistribution of wealth. I think this started under John Kasich. It's continued under DeWine. They've allowed this massive amount of fraud to occur for exactly what they're saying. I mean, family members who would have been there anyway are taking money, and they're taking taxpayer dollars, and they're becoming quite wealthy, as a matter of fact. They're getting a lot of money to do this. I don't think Ohio is the limit. I don't think Minnesota is the limit. I think you're going to find this across the country. And as you hear Democrat governors say they want to expand Medicaid, there is nobody watching for this fraud, and they don't seem to care that it continues to happen, and it's our taxpayer dollars.
Yeah. And again, like, you have to start looking at the people that we're pulling into this country, even through legal immigration pathways. I mean, when you see that the public charge is there for a reason, that is written for a reason. You don't bring people into a country that are a net loss. You just don't. I mean, there's no justification for that, and it doesn't make you racist to call it out at all. I got 1 minute left. Josh, Senator Rand Paul making a great point. We have a very limited window to go after Tony Fauci for funding the lab that leaked COVID-19 and killed millions of people, saying the cover-up goes all the way to the top. Fauci funded the Wuhan lab. Obviously, they hid what they did, and what came out of that lab, what leaked out of that lab, killed millions of people. He's saying he's re-upping his criminal referral to the DOJ. The evidence is overwhelming. There's a 5-year statute he's referring to. Obviously, there's a pardon there as well, Josh, which I'm trying to figure out how that plays into it, how you can even prosecute, maybe just at the state level. But how do we make Fauci pay and be responsible for what he did to this country?
Yeah, so the pardon would probably cover federal crimes there. Right. It's obviously an outrageous thing what Joe Biden did, but it probably would cover any attempt to prosecute from the DOJ. So you're looking at state-level crimes there. Rob, what I've been saying for years is that Fauci and his minions should be prosecuted at the state level for fraud, good old-fashioned consumer fraud. I think there's actually a lot of lee room there when it comes to a lot of old-school state-level torts. There's a lot of things here that some aggressive prosecutors can do at the state level. Surely there is some ultra-MAGA prosecutor, a DA in West Texas and the Oklahoma Panhandle and some very red jurisdiction there. Wouldn't you love to get Anthony Fauci to get dragged down to West Texas and hauled to court there? I would love that. I think the American people would love that too. God. Let's make it happen.
Oh, from your mouth to God's ears. I mean, it's just, and the fact that he became a hero out of all of that, you know, it just that was just it was too much to bear. What he did to this country, and he was celebrated for it. He got rich off of it. I just, something needs to happen. I salute Rand Paul for at least putting the attempt out there. Only a few days left. Tudor Dixon, Josh Hammer, good to have you both. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, maybe deleting thousands of tweets means you're just not right for the job. Up next.
Yeah, I stand by that. Was it the most eloquent tweet I've ever tweeted? No. I've tweeted thousands of times.
Here's Chris Cunahan with the Leaf Filter Gutter Report.
From blizzards to downpours to windstorms or heat waves, no matter where you live, Leaf Filter keeps your gutters clog-free year-round. Schedule your free inspection today. Call 833-LEAF-FILTER or visit leaffilter.com.
If you still have bad breath by lunchtime, your mouthwash isn't working. Smart Mouth is the only mouthwash that prevents bad breath for 24 hours. This is the only mouthwash I recommend. Upgrade your mouthwash to Smart Mouth today and never have bad breath again.
He's breathing. Okay. We're good.
Nearly 5,000 people die from choking each year. That's frightening. I'm Dr. Ben Carson.
And I'm Arthur Lee. But there are ways to help prevent choking. Accidents do happen. That's why I invented the Life Pack.
Anyone can use this device, and it can save a life in seconds.
Just place, push, and pull. It's that simple. Please order one for your home, office, car, anywhere you eat.
Go to lifehack.net or call 877-543-3822.
Like a relentless weed, moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms can keep coming back.
Break away to what's possible with Tremfya.
The only IL-23 blocker for Crohn's and UC to offer self-administration from the start.
Tremfya can help with symptom relief as early as 4 weeks, remission at 12 weeks, 1 year, and 2 years.
Some had visible repair of their intestinal lining. Serious allergic reactions, increased risk of infections or lower ability to fight them, and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or need a vaccine. Break away with Tremfya.
Backed by over 15 years of clinical research. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today.
At Bright Star Care, our nurse-led care anticipates needs before they are voiced. We'll be there.
Is it just the mustache? No, it's all of it. It's the way he brings me wood to keep us nice and warm. And it's the way he brings me a fresh cup of Black Rifle coffee.
Honey, you having a Riley Green dream again?
Just give me 5 more minutes.
Okay.
Honey! Riley's taking me duck hunting.
Oh, come on!
My heart has experienced life-changing wins, losses, and countless miles. To keep living at my speed, I trust Cunol CoQ10. CoQ10 is the #1 cardiologist-recommended supplement for heart health. Cunol, the brand I trust.
It's 2 a.m., your fever spiked and you're miserable. Here's your options.
Urgent care, closed. ER, slammed, and you'll spend hundreds of thousands in both. Telehealth, yeah, but the pharmacies are closed.
That's the reason why we keep emergency medical kits at home.
It has doctor-prescribed medication like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other antibiotics and antivirals. You can treat flu, pneumonia, strep, sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
Because if you're sick in at night, traveling or stranded, you don't want options.
You want what is inside this kit. No waiting, no pharmacy, and no copays.
Just schedule a quick telehealth call.
And that's how you feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
Every family should have this kit, and here's how to order yours.
Order online in minutes and use the promo code to save $45. Your doctor-prescribed kit ships fast to your door, packed with medications to treat over 30 conditions. So when something hits, you're ready. And a wellness company telehealth doctor is always there if you need guidance.
Welcome back. Time now for news from the left. Former Congressman Eric Swalwell cannot get out of the headlines, now accused by multiple women of sending sexual messages through Snapchat after becoming one of the first members of Congress to actually join that platform back in the day. CNN has now interviewed more than a dozen women who say Swalwell made them feel uncomfortable over the last decade, from social media messages to in-person encounters to alleged attempts Congressman to get them into his hotel room. Swalwell sent one girl nude photos of himself and videos of him masturbating. Who on earth, would ever want to see something like that? Eric Swalwell. Back in 2016, The Hill anointed Swalwell as the Snapchat King of Congress. Now, this was an app that was initially designed for sending nude pictures, by the way. You should know that. It's much more mainstream now, but that's what it was for. Swalwell joined right out of the gate for obvious reasons, but claimed that he was doing it to help democracy. He actually said that. The New York Times reports he's still using Snapchat, still sending communications to his staffers, including one to a former intern on the app, asking why she had taken a screenshot of their chat history. Eric, you're dumb, but you're not that dumb. I think we all know why she's taking pictures and evidence of what the hell kind of weird guy you are, Eric Swalwell. Next up, the Pope appointing an illegal alien bishop of the Diocese of Wheeling-Charleston, which covers most of West Virginia. Yes, that's right. Evelio Menivar Ayala was smuggled into the United States in a car trunk after making a few attempts as a teenager to flee El Salvador. Publicly called for Catholics to speak out against President Donald Trump's treatments of immigrants as well. And yeah, we have a full-blown illegal immigrant getting a pretty nice promotion from the Pope himself. Tracks, doesn't it? And finally, Michigan Democrat Senate hopeful Mallory McMorrow has deleted 6,000 tweets in an effort to conceal who she is from the people that she wants to vote for. She's trying to conceal how much she hates the Midwest and all those boring flyover state hicks that she now has to live near and represent in the Senate. She went on CNN as she's watching her political career collapse, trying to defend herself. Take a listen.
In 2016, a user posted, all this talk about coastal elites needing to understand more of America has it backwards. You wrote in response, I'm from rural New Jersey, this ranks 100%. So do you stand by that sentiment?
I think we all need to understand each other better. Trump has succeeded in weaponizing us against each other. I stand by that. Was it the most eloquent tweet I've ever tweeted? No. I've tweeted thousands of times.
I think we all just have to understand each other. You hate the people from your state. You hate the people of the Midwest. You want to be in California, but you can't win in California. So you had to schlep back to Michigan, and here you are. That's the answer. That's the answer. Up next, the woke judge that seems to love Trump's would-be assassin.
Closed captioning is brought to you by MagnaLife Pain Relieving Foot Cream to target neuropathy symptoms.
The stabbing, burning pain in your feet is real. Here's what real customers have to say about MagnaLife Pain Relieving Foot Cream. The only thing that works for my diabetic neuropathy.
Available in foot care and diabetic aisles.
Ooh, that new Cologuard Plus test.
10 out of 10.
Now I detect 95% of colon cancers, similar to colonoscopy.
Somebody's been working on himself.
Girl, those blue arms say I got you.
The square jaw says, trust me.
And the free return label says, I'm going places.
The Cologuard Plus test. Non-invasive, no prep, and better than ever. For people 45 plus at average risk, it's the box that checks all the boxes for screening. False positive and negative results may occur, not for those at high risk. Ask your provider or request Cologuard Plus online.
Mike Hammond of Signal Relief. We've helped nearly 700,000 feel relief in their back, shoulders, and knees with our technology. But for many of us, it's our feet that hurt. And when they hurt, our walks get shorter, activities are skipped, and the moments we love start slipping away. That's why we created the Signal Step, a patent-pending insole built using the same proven technology people already trust from Signal Relief. Signal uses no drugs. There's nothing on the market like it. It's relief without the side effects. It's reusable, fits virtually into any shoe, and in a recent study, over 85% felt relief, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Feel relief with every step. If you're hurting, go to signalstep.com and get relief today.
Fishing is one of life's simplest pleasures, with a rich history and life lessons passed down from generation to generation. Teach your kids and grandkids everything they need to know with the Kid's Guide to Fishing. Get it as part of our free Great Outdoors bundle by scanning the QR code on your screen or going to freefishingbundle.com. Don't miss this opportunity to teach your kids everything that the Great Outdoors has to offer. Use the QR code on your screen to get your free Great Outdoors bundle now or go to freefishingbundle.com.
ProFoot by Tommy Copper has a new way to fight foot, knee, and back pain. Our most advanced insole yet, the Triad Plus Align. Feel the 3-zone support for all-day comfort. Absorbs shock and reduces fatigue. So your feet, knees, and back can feel great from morning till night. ProFoot by Tommy Copper helps you feel your best. Go to TommyCopper.com and save 40% today. Every step counts.
Finally tonight, this is something. Liberal activist D.C. federal judge Zia Faruqi issuing Trump's would-be assassin Cole Allen an apology today in court. Sorry over his placement in severe lockdown, including a temporary suicide watch that required a 24-hour-a-day placement in a padded lighted cell without access to phone calls, books, religious material, or rec time. Adding he's being treated more harshly than those other defendants in the jail. Yeah, maybe because he tried to kill the president at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. These are the people that are letting all the criminals, Bill, be released onto our streets to continue terrorizing us. It's idiots like this guy, and now Cole Allen, he pulled a hell of a judge.
Rob, it's so outrageous. Although I'm still struck by the Swalwell story, so I'm just trying to digest all of that first. Unbelievable.
I hope I didn't ruin your night by giving that to you right before.
It's just got
a little graphic,
that out of my head.
Bill's in for Finnerty, and he's taking it away. Go ahead.
Thanks, Rob.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.